All this week, PBS has aired programs on the national gun debate. And as Delaware legislators introduce the first of the state's gun bills, we want to continue that discussion on State of Play. Normally, our guests are in studio, but sometimes schedules don't always click. So instead, we travel to Dover to hear from Delaware gun bill sponsor, Representative Valerie Longhurst. We also hear an alternative point of view from freshman Representative Stephen Smick. First up, the thoughts on universal background checks.
I did a bill 2 years ago, I think it was about 2 years ago, Nick's program, which put the National Registry for Mentally Ill People into a national registry. And I thought when this bill came up for background checks, I thought it was a kind of an add-on to that piece of legislation. I felt that universal background check is one of those bills that it closes a loophole in the system in which we can prevent criminals and mentally ill people from getting the sale of guns.
Universal background checks are something that is supported by my friends that have gun shops. They don't mind having a background check for pretty much every transaction. However, what you're going to find is that if there's a transaction between a father and a son or a very close family member, that's probably not going to be included into your universal background check. And that is something that may make it difficult to trace some firearms, but it's not going to be that hard.
Currently, there is a loophole in the system where you can go and purchase a gun at a dealer, but then you can go to a private dealer if you're denied there and go and purchase a gun and not have any background check done on you at all, which doesn't make sense to me when we have over 3,000 people that were denied in the state of Delaware in the last 6 years after getting the background check. Those 3,000 people can now go back into the private market and purchase a gun.
The devil's in the details. You've heard that before, and I will be looking at those details. The last thing that we want to do is take away some coveted aspects of gun ownership, but we also want to make sure that this legislation targets where it needs, where we have our weaknesses. And I'll be talking to my friends that own gun shops. I have 2 gun shops inside my district, and both of them are very good friends of mine. So I'll be consulting with them, and as well as we have a senator, Senator Lawson, who has a gun shop. And he taught me firearm safety.
Some common ground there. Next up, the bill that would do something about lost or stolen guns. We start again with Representative Longhurst.
The lost and stolen gun program, I think, is a very smart way to go about it. I think that we should be reporting lost or stolen guns. I mean, sometimes you come down here and there's legislation that's a no-brainer, and there's others that there's a lot more that goes with the piece of legislation. I think the background check and also the lost and stolen gun bill are 2 bills that I think are going to be favorable pretty easily down here. I think the other ones are going to be a debate. People, the NRA has already come out and they're completely against them, so we do have our challenges.
I find that to be superfluous legislation, and why I do that is because the people that are law-abiding citizens will be the ones that report it. That they have something to lose. They say, hey, listen, this is a very important tool of mine. It's lost, I need to report it, and they will. But you're not going to find that in the criminal element, and that's the element that we're trying to target here. If you find a gun that was involved in a crime and you trace it back to a person, you say, hey, why didn't you report this lost or stolen? Then there's ways to get out of that, and it will probably be about a year before, or less, before the criminal element knows what to say in court, knows what to say in an interview, to get them out of that charge.
And we'll give each a final word.
It will be a challenge. It's about educating. It's about fighting a system with the NRA that is very strong and very powerful. I think there's a lot of movement in this piece of legislation personally that people get it now. They get it. It will be introduced probably in the next couple weeks, and it will be probably on the agenda first thing when we get back in Legislative Hall. I plan on running it pretty swiftly through the House and having a hearing and putting it out on the House floor.
It's a shame that legislators as well as the community at large, are looking at the wrong avenues to protect our community when they say that in the wake of Newtown, Connecticut, we should do this. And they're looking at gun bans, gun control, and those are failed policies that now are being reintroduced on the backs of a very heart-wrenching event up in Newtown, Connecticut.
There will be much more on this debate as it unfolds when the legislature returns next month. We will follow it here on First on our Delaware webpage, and you can hear the latest Delaware news on the radio, WHYY FM 90.9.